Yep, you're good.
All right, and 3, 2, 1, we are now live. Hello, welcome to the Graffiti Black podcast. I'm Jameson. This is the podcast for my band Graffiti Black, and today I've got a really cool guest with me. His name is Keaton, and he's the lead singer of his band. Thank you, man, for being on today's podcast. Appreciate you coming on.
Definitely, absolutely.
Yeah,
Glad to be here for sure.
Totally, man. And so, yeah, I mean, tell them like the name of your band one more time.
Yeah, Virola Shoots.
Virola Shoots. Yeah, I was making a point to check out some of your guys' work on Spotify. I thought it was really cool.
Thanks, man.
I kind of wanted to jump into that and kind of ask a little bit about it. Mm-hmm. But what I was, specifically interested with that is I noticed the first song, Bangarang. Mm-hmm. Well, okay, it has like technically 2 names. Is that right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that. But first, tell me a little bit about Virola Shoots and how, like, for one, you guys came up with that name and just a brief synopsis.
Okay.
You guys, really quick, if you don't mind.
So me and Ryan have been playing for a while. We actually had a band before called Colony, which is like, the only name that we could come up with that nobody hated. So It was Colony. But that was a 3-piece. We had a different bass player at the time, but Ryan was still on drums, and I was, I'm still doing the same thing, just playing guitar and singing. But we had a band with our previous bass player, and then things kind of fell apart from there with the bass player, and so me and Ryan just kind of kept playing, and we realized pretty quick that the sound was different when it was just me and him, and it was like when you don't have to worry about somebody else holding the key for you, like, you can really go anywhere when it's just you and the drummer. Like, you don't have to, hey, by the way, we're going to this key to the bass player or, some other guitar player. So it was so when it was just me and him, it became very fluent, very improv, I guess. And we just started like making this sound. And we just decided to change the name, and I owe it to Ryan for the band name, because he was definitely tenacious about it. He would not let it go. Like, because I was like, let's think of some other options, but he was like, no, man, Virola Shoots, and I was like, okay, and stuck with it. I mean, that's the other thing about Ryan, is that he's very good at sticking with, if he wants something, he'll stick with it, and I'm pretty smooth going as far as big decisions go, because I don't really like that much responsibility as far as, like, I guess, like where the direction goes or something like that. I'm very open to where the songs are going to go, or, even the band name, obviously. But Virola Shoots came from, it's a psychedelic plant. And I think he just came across it in a book, and it just stuck with him.
All right.
And I couldn't think of a reason to say no to it. So,
yeah,
it's like, let's get that out of the way and let's work on the important stuff, the songs and like the process of writing the songs and stuff. I feel like if you think too much about the band name, you're already hung up too much, so.
Do people ever ask often, like, how'd you come up with that?
Yeah. Like, because I know every single time when I say it, they're gonna be like, "What?" And it's like, I know I'm gonna have to say this twice, at the very least. And then and then you give them the definition of it, and they think, "Oh, so you're like a psychedelic band?" It's like, no. It's just, we're pretty heavy, but yeah. That's the great thing about the band name, is that it kind of lends this mysterious kind of sound, like you don't know what the band's going to sound like.
Yeah. Well, okay, that's really cool, because I guess I kind of like that point you brought up of when you're doing the band name, like you don't try to think about it too much. And you say you just kind of came up with it somewhere. Like, it's our band name, Graffiti Black. It's kind of the same thing. We just saw it somewhere. And we're like, that's dope. Let's use that.
Yeah.
And like,
why not, man?
I always feel pressure when people are
you need a definition. Why did you choose this?
Yeah, like a few weeks ago, someone like, hey, they're kind of like digging, how did you come up with that? And I was like, it's just like when you're going through something. I was like, I've come up with this whole story, but it's just like, dude, I opened an iPhone app with my brother back in like This is years ago. We're going through colors. We saw that. We're like, that.
You put black with anything and it's a band name, you know, like pretty much it's just, you know, it's easy.
Virola Black.
Yeah.
Like,
why not?
that's an album.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, so going into the album, we got a bass player. So, you know, we kind of went back to a bass and or at least looking for one. And Pat came on board, Pat Day. And I think, seriously, we have it on his YouTube channel, I think, maybe, of like the first day we played Open Water Bangarang. And it was nowhere near where it is now, but he just started playing that bass line, like literally the opening measure. He just played it once.
Wow.
And like it happens rarely, but I landed on it. I don't know what it was, but like I heard this melody that was going with his.
Interesting.
And I don't know why it works, but it does. But so that was the great thing about Pat, and that's where a lot of the fuel came from for the other songs.
Okay.
Because Mother Mary was a riff that he had for years, and he never knew what to do with it. And you know, he brought it to one of the practices. And so right off the bat, we already have two solid things that we could work on. It's like, hey, you know, this, and they go great together. Both the songs. That's why like we wanted those two with it.
Yeah,
they seem to complement each other really well. And so, I mean, really, when I think back on it, as far as the writing goes, Pat had a lot to do with how it came out.
Okay.
And I mean, and it's not to say that he orchestrated anything, but he gave a lot of influence, like, because it was, you know, when Ryan's on the drums, he's kind of, I mean, you know, you can't really, I mean, I guess you can partly write the song as you play it, but you know, when you're playing the drums, you're just trying to keep the beat, trying to keep the tempo and stuff like that, and not necessarily where the song is going. But when Pat came in, and he's a great songwriter, and it was a match, dude, because he had these riffs. We even have other songs that he wrote the first verse and I wrote the second verse. These are songs that we don't really have recorded yet, but they're finished, so we just need the time to do it.
Yeah.
But so that's another example where, like, when Pat came into the band, it was a lot of fuel for the writing process, and we just kind of polished them up, and there they are.
So when you first started writing with Ryan, you said you felt like it just kind of like meshed together, and you guys were just boom.
Yeah, really, because he's always had this energy. Just like if you ask him to jam, he's always down. Cool. You know, just like, even if it's like for a half hour, like, hey, fine, come over.
Yeah,
we'll bang out a couple measures. And he's always had that energy. And it's always like, I mean, I pick up the guitar every day, but to get up, to pack your stuff, to go over to somebody's house and actually like, hey, let's make something. Yeah, it does a great deal to have somebody like Ryan that's like, that's dope. That's awesome. I love that. Like, it's hard for me not to, I guess, impress Ryan. And maybe it's because he's always open to other things, or like open to great stuff, or maybe we just have that taste, you know, together.
Yeah.
But we always have a mutual respect for like where the direction goes, or like where the song goes.
Yeah.
You know, it's like always like, what do you want to try? We'll try it. And then we decide, you know, where the best direction is.
And you said you also, in a way, Pat kind of has the same message as you guys.
Yeah. And it was, I mean, I feel lucky because, I mean, I've been in situations with musicians that it just doesn't go well.
I feel like it's been a lot of my experience where it feels like, okay, if I try really hard, then it can work. Mm-hmm. I've had a few instances where I've just had someone I barely know come and sit on drums, playing some guitar riffs, and they just kind of know how to like play smaller parts that are quieter, and then when to like erupt into a bigger thing. I've had that stuff before. It's really cool. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that sounds like whatever you landed with these guys, it's like you guys just click super well then.
Yeah. And I mean, we've been friends for, I mean, me and Ryan have been friends since elementary school, but and Pat came a little bit later in like middle school and stuff like that. But we've all been friends for a long time, Yeah, and I think that has a lot to do with the mutual respect aspect of it. You know, because like we like, I mean, I might play my guitar more than Pat plays his bass, maybe, or something like that. But when we get together, it's this camaraderie that, like, you know, whatever we make, you know,
Yeah.
we will have the confidence to go forward with it, and we know that it'll sound good. We just need to get there,
Okay.
you know. So a lot of it has to do with the friendship that's underneath it.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
for sure. And like, thank God we have the same taste in music, pretty much. You know, well, like, I mean, like, because Ryan hates Robert Plant, and Pat loves Robert Plant, like he's a god. And I'm like, you know, Robert Plant, he's amazing. I love him. You know,
Sure.
like, not to, you know, put Ryan in a corner, but it's like,
We're watching you, Ryan.
but we all have these bands that we get along with. Like, you know, like, we can always go back to, like, the Beatles, obviously.
Sure.
And like, not even to say that, like, Ryan's a big Led Zeppelin fan. I don't think he's that big of a Robert Plant fan.
The lead.
Yeah, I don't, maybe he. I mean, I like Page more too, if I had to pick.
Okay. Clear. Well, speaking of Beatles, so we've got, you know, the band you guys do, and you also have your solo thing. So I was listening to that on the way over here when you sent.
And I should have told you about it yesterday, so you had more time.
Well, it has a Beatles feel to it. It's got like an older wave. I feel like it's borderline something I would hear on like a John Lennon thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
That's kind of what spoke to me on it, because
Okay.
like, yeah, the tremolo thing going, had this wavy thing. It's like,
I never even thought about that, but yeah, you're right.
The only thing was like missing was like the sound of like waves or like actual.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
that could fit.
Well, that's ironically on Open Water, so.
That's where I probably like subconsciously was pulling that from, but like that's what spoke to me. But I mean, like, do you write a lot more of the original, like your own separate thing, or do you guys try to like equally write? Here's a lot of like the full band material.
Well, it's always open because I tell the guys constantly. It's like, hey, if you love anything that I play, you know, the solo stuff, you know, tell me, and we'll work it out. You know, we'll do it.
Yeah.
But I guess the thing that kind of holds us back from doing most of the material is just the mellowness of most of it.
Okay.
But I guess the last album, the one that I sent you, Science of Thought, that was all me with like software drums, and that was really like a passion project. Like, hey, if I could do all of these, if I could play all these instruments, and I had ultimate control over the sound of it or over the songs, what would it sound like? And that's basically what that album is.
Okay.
And so I tell the guys, like, hey, we can play any of these songs, but I guess most of the picks would probably be on the last album, because the other two before that are very soft, very sad, very slow. So it's maybe more for a coffee joint or something like that. You know, we can always use that material. But that's the other thing, is that it's not hard to play. It's not really hard stuff to play, I wouldn't say.
Yeah.
But that's the great thing, is that like it wouldn't take us too long to learn it if we were in a crunch or like a tight spot and we had to play a acoustic gig or something like that. You know, it would be easy to adapt it. And even for the heavy stuff too, we could adapt and make it. And I mean, like, sometimes we played acoustic versions of Open Water Bangarang, and it didn't sound all that bad.
Okay.
You know, so like then that's another thing that we love to do, just like play things differently and see what we come up with.
Yeah, and speaking of that, with Open Water, you know, going back to like the full band material, why are there like there's like two names on it, right? There's Open Water, then parentheses Bangarang. So what's up with that?
We couldn't decide which one.
I wonder if that's like the common thing with when there's a second name.
like
I'm like, do they just want both in there?
Because I feel like, because if I see that and I listen to the song, it's like, well, yeah, it could be either one of those, you know? So it's like, it's take your pick, whichever one you like. But the
figures.
But the kind of the nod to Pat for, like, you know, coming up with the bass line and basically, you know, launching the song. Yeah. One day we were talking about like our favorite movies or something like that, and one of his was Hook. And I mean, that's not far down on my list either. I love that movie, but kind of like as a idea, like what to write about, I incorporated these little things like turn out your clocks and forget your fathers. That's Captain Hook. His fear of clocks.
Okay.
And he's trying, I don't know if you remember the movie or not, but he's trying to turn Robin Williams, or what the fuck is his name? Peter Pan. He's trying to turn his son against his own father. That's what Captain Hook's doing.
Okay.
So, you know, turn out your clocks and forget your fathers. And, you know, obviously there's ocean waves and stuff like that, you know, so there's themes in there. And it was very freeing to just like, you know, screw it. You know, why not this movie? Or, you know, at least take the underlying message that the movie's portraying, I guess, or whatever, and, you know, bring it into the song. You know, it's like, why not write about, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, but like, that's the great thing is that like, nobody necessarily needs to know that, you know, it's not a song about the movie. It's just like it took from the story.
Yeah.
You know, and nobody really needs to know that to enjoy the song. So like, I mean, in the end, it really doesn't matter where the material came from. If the lyrics speak to you, they speak to you. You know, I kind of feel like, you know, like lifting the veil might ruin the song a little bit. Which
really?
I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends on where it comes from.
Sometimes I like to know where is this coming from, because like you can know in like, okay, this song's good. Sometimes like not all the time. Like I'm very content with like, okay, this sounds cool, and that's the end of the story. Mm-hmm. But other times, especially when like if I sit down with someone, I'm like, yo, I want to like know where does this kind of inspiration come from? Mm-hmm. What gets you like write this? Where does the title come from? Mm-hmm.
I mean, sometimes there's straight answers, you know,
I mean, and if it is a thing where you're like, hey, I want to do this and that's cool, it's like, that is also just like a cool answer too. You know, I like just kind of like, I guess you know, I like to, but other people, if they like to keep it like, you know, it needs to stay mystery, that's like, hey, you know, whatever. Teach their own, I guess. But yeah, that's really cool. I mean, dude, so like, do you feel like, you know, you like to grab from different sources like that to kind of create, here's these lyrics, or, you know, here's how you come up with that song in general? Is that kind of, is that how you know, the inspiration for that, is that kind of the same thing with like the rest of the EP with, you know, what you just released around a year ago? Or is it kind of different for everyone, every song or EP that you guys put out?
It really, every song is different because like me and Ryan have songs that we plan on recording that we wrote before Pat even came into the band. So we keep the songs that, you know, like the songs that stay with us are the ones that we consider good, you know, so, and Pat knows these songs.
Yeah.
We brought him in, you know, later, but, you know, he learned the parts and stuff like that, or even like in some cases wrote something completely different that goes with it. But, it can come from, it can really come from anywhere. And maybe that's the thing that keeps me writing, is that I don't need it from a certain place, because sometimes, I mean, I have songs that I still haven't finished and they're years old. You know, it's like,
feel that, man.
Yeah. Cause like you write a really good first verse and you're like, shit, it's going to take me years to find out second verse, you know, that's just as good.
Yeah.
You know, so, but there's other songs that just poop them out, man. Like they just come out and like, there's no issues at all. And Bangarang Open Water was one of those, because it was it all started with that bass line, and I just kept going till it was finished.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, it sounds like, you know, you guys, if you guys write together as a group, it sounds like you could pump out a lot of material in like no time.
Yeah,
is that what you guys do?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, like it's always, whenever we like get together for band practice, we always record it. Because we always find something that like, we need to keep this is good, that like, and not to get too much of a backlog, but to really be truthful and be honest, like, hey, that was really, really good, and we need to remember that. Yeah. But it's so easy to, you know, put your phone down and just record it really quick. It's a whole different story plugging in and getting the measured, or, you know, getting the levels right, and, you know, so mastering and all that stuff, like it's a whole different thing.
Yep.
But there's a lot of stuff. I know that if we had the time, the place, it'd be something to see for sure. Or I mean, it would be something to go through, because it's and like we always feel that it's like, And maybe that's what keeps us going, is that like we feel like there is something here.
Okay.
And even if it doesn't come to, fruition, whatever that may be,
Yeah.
a record deal or something like that, it's the fact that you're making something, while you're here. You're doing, because it's like, why not? What else is there to do except for, be into something, have a hobby, So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's really cool how you guys can like do that. Another question I had was, on the subject of your guys' music, I really like, this EP that you guys released around a year ago. Do you have new songs or EPs that will be coming out in 2023?
I mean, I want to say like 2 months. That might be, it might be sooner, but, I just went over to Ryan's house, to jam. It was like one of our quick jams, like it was just me and him. But he showed me a couple songs that were pretty damn near close to being done.
Yeah.
And like I might need to take the vocals again or something like that. But it sounded great. Like I loved the direction it was going, and it's pretty. I mean, I think there's 3 songs altogether, but one song in particular, "Victim of a Heart Attack," it's our ender for every practice. Usually the ender for our shows too, depending on the show. But it's like it's really like the song that's like the heart of the band, really. And
Okay.
and like it's and I can't really pinpoint why. Maybe it's because Pat and Ryan usually do a toast to each other during the verses, because they cut out for the verse. I don't want to like give anything away, but like they cut out during the verses that I'm playing, and while I'm playing, they cheers and take a drink, and then they come back in for the chorus.
Take a little shot.
Right. So why wouldn't it be their favorite? But I'm doing all the work. But that's one song that I wrote, and I brought it to the band, and it just blew up. It was like they knew exactly where to go. There was no, I need to tell you the direction. It's one of those songs that really, it kind of leads you into everything. You really don't need to know. It's like, oh wait, where is this guy going? Where is this going? It's like, it kind of builds up, and where the release is and stuff like that. Where Ryan opens up on the drums, but that was another song that was very, very organic for us. So it's very close to being done. And like I said, there's a couple other ones that are in there too. But and they all have this sound that, like, I was trying to describe our band on the way over, like as far as the sound goes, and it's one of the hardest and most frustrating things for me to answer.
Here's an easy way.
Okay.
I think someone else would describe it. Fully objective.
I guess I'm gonna have to ask around. I don't know, because it's like, I mean, it might have a bit of the Beatles aspect to it, a little bit. Some of the Beatles heavier stuff. I want to say that, like,
The heavy Beatles songs, not the light ones.
Yeah, but a lot of, I mean, I pull from the Beatles a lot as far as my guitar playing goes. I'm not sure about melody or not, but the melody is a very mysterious thing for my vocals. Like, I don't know where it comes from. I just do it, and I could be copying a million people. I have no idea, as far as melody goes. But
sure, yeah.
Well, it's the same thing with the band name. I don't want to think too much about it, or else it,
well,
drops
okay.
off the.
Well, here's what I got. I mean, I really loved, like, the bass has like not synthy, but it's got like this really packed sound, and it also I've heard a bass described as like farty a little bit, like bah, bah, bah. That has it, like especially in Open Water, right? You got like sweet beat with it and everything. I'm not exactly what the is it in some of the realm of pop-ish? Does that sound fair?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds fair. I mean, like, part of the reason why I keep certain things is because it's catchy.
Well,
like, totally. and like, I mean, and
very catchy.
You turn on the radio and it's like everything's catchy. You can't get away from that fact. But you can choose to listen to it or not. But But I try, and that's another thing. I try not to think too much about like where it's coming from or if it even sounds poppy. And I don't consider that a bad thing at all, you know, but it's like, but yeah, I think that's the reason why it's so catchy and like, and that helps with the longevity of the songs. Like it's not going anywhere. We love to play it. That's one of my favorite songs to play.
Well, that one popped out at me the most. I mean, yeah, it was catchy, but like the production value of it and like how you're describing like each instrument, that was kind of like, I really like the bass really stuck out. It was like what I was like, it was really memorable.
So maybe that's the reason why it you know, caught on with me, because the second you started playing it, I was like, that's catchy.
I like the bass is like, yeah, there's a lot going on with it. I thought that was cool. I'll probably listen to it later and just be like, this is a, you know, or whatever it might make me think genre wise a bit. But
yeah, I mean, I'd love to know, because usually it's my relatives, you know, that I ask, like, what do you, and you know, they're not music people, you know,
it's hard rock,
right? Yeah, it's like oh, distortion guitar, hard rock. You know, it's like, you know, well, is that the Bear? You know, but it's like, but I'd love to talk to other musicians about it, and the guys are the only musicians that I see on a regular basis. But you know, like I try not to let other bands' directions like influence where we're going, because that's one of the harder things. Like as far as getting a gig or something like that is like, we've played a lot with a band called Hate Zero, and they're heavy metal. They have masks, you know, and like, you know, like they're a very, you know, kind of like Mudvayne, kind of, I don't know if you know Mudvayne, but very, you know, costume oriented and stuff like that. And I love their stuff, but they always have gigs for us. Like, not always, but like they're usually the ones that come through with a gig for us. Okay. And we don't really sound that much alike, but I love that aspect of it, is that like, because we sound close enough to them to where the fans that they don't get in the audience will get, kind of thing, you know, or like if their stuff is not, you know, what they're looking for, or certain people in the audience, we will be. And I think that's the great thing about having variety in the gigs. So I like, it doesn't matter what you sound like, really. I mean, because as far as the bar scenes and like the band scenes, a lot of it's around here anyway, as far as I see, is metal and punk and maybe like rock cover bands or something like that. Right. But I don't see too much like original rock and roll. You know, I guess in the classic sense, it's, you know, much heavier, much faster, you know, much more punk and metal oriented in this area. So it's, I mean, I'm eternally grateful for the gigs that I get, you know, because like I said, even if we don't sound like you, you know, we love that you're a part of the scene. You know, like I love anybody that's going out and playing music for anybody, you know, no matter what it sounds like. Yeah. I try not to judge too much about it, you know, because I mean, I pick from a lot of different tastes. You know, I love acoustic folk, you know, from folk to Green Day to, you know, to Hell Zeppelin to Wilco to Ween. I mean, it's all over the place. It really is. Yeah. And I think that comes out in the band a lot too. So like I said, eternally grateful for the gigs that I get. And I love anybody that's in the scene right now that's doing the work, because I mean, it's passion for all of us, you know, with the, you know, we don't do it to, you know, to get a record deal in Vegas or, you know, LA or something like that. You know, it's like, it's a very good chance that none of us will get there, you know, and I'm well aware of that. So I try to concentrate on, you know, having fun, creating something that's interesting and keeps people coming back for it. You know, like if you're listening to the song like on a daily basis, because I got songs like that too that are just stuck in my head. They've been stuck in my head for 6 months and I just can't get them out. And I love, you know, if my song gets stuck in your head, however much you might hate it, you know, I want you to keep coming back and listening to it, you know, because I keep coming back and listening to it. Yeah. And I think probably most of the plays we get is from me and the other guys because we just love our material. Yeah. We're proud of it, you know, and we love the sound that we're making because it doesn't really sound like anybody else. And I think that's a good thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I would say like, I don't think I'm able to pinpoint. I mean, like, you know, with the solo stuff, I'm like, there seems to be some Beatle influence there, but with like the full band material, I'm like, I don't know what to, you know, I don't know exactly what to reference. And it's like, I think it's another point to help be a little more memorable. So you guys definitely have that going for you.
Yeah, cool. Awesome.
One more thing before, you know, before we end this, where can people, you know, find a lot of, you know, the band's info or just content in general?
We have a Facebook page that I believe has all the links on it, but we have a Facebook page that's Virola Shoots, just one L. I know that we had an old page that had two L's, and everybody got confused about that, but that's finally, you know, gone. So we only have one now.
All right.
But we're on YouTube. We have a lot of material on YouTube, and our EP is on Spotify, and I believe iTunes too. I'm not really sure, but yeah, that's where you can find most of our stuff. And if you want to dig deeper into the stuff, it would be YouTube. I would go to our YouTube page, and we have the most material there. But as far as contact information, it'd probably be Facebook.
We'll put a lot of like their links and stuff in the description too. So if anyone's watching this trying to find their stuff, just look at the links and everything down below the video. Okay, well, I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to go over. We got to know. Well, actually, one more question. What's the name again of your solo album?
3 Bipedal Hominids, I believe.
Okay. We're definitely gonna have the link for that.
I have to, and that was another one of Ryan's.
Yeah.
That was man, what the hell is it called? I think it's 3 Bipedal Hominids. I guarantee I got that right.
Well, your solo one though.
Oh, so the Science of Thought.
Science of Thought, yeah. So I'll make sure all that's in there.
Okay, yeah, cool. And that's on Bandcamp. I have all of my solo stuff on Bandcamp.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it, dude.
Awesome, dude. Glad to be here for sure.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.